Ramadan means a number of things. I usually find it tied to the acronym fasting. That Ramadan and the period of fasting stands for fasting, not feasting. What makes Ramadan special is it is compulsory. It's easy for me to postpone things that are important but not urgent. But the fact that Allah has fixed a time forces me to create time for the things that Ramadan is about. Otherwise, I would waste the month. So what makes Ramadan special is I look forward to a time when, worst case scenario, once a year, I will seriously give attention to my relationship with Allah and my spiritual growth. What I intend to gain this Ramadan is whatever I might have lost between the last Ramadan and this Ramadan. It's Aluta Continual. The struggle continues. Jihad bin Nafs is not something you graduate from. Every year you see newer weaknesses in yourself that you didn't notice, didn't take seriously. One thing I do like about Ramadan is it forces us to have new routines, to start things we haven't done before or we've not done well enough. So I like the fact that we wake up earlier than usual to pray with the children, to do more dhikr with the children, spend more time with the family, spend more time praying taraweeh with the family. And it's also a time when, in our family tradition, every child in the family, from my children, my dad's grandchildren, everybody has a presentation to make at the end of taraweeh every day. So it's a 5-10 minute presentation, and I'm looking forward to what the younger generation will be sharing with us. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that Ramadan. Probably not very different, just more of the same. Read more, try and bond more with the family. Children are growing older, to try and make sure I can teach them whatever I can. Fortunately, some of their holiday coincides with Ramadan, so that'll give us more time, and I'll be taking that time off. So I'm hoping that I can have more quality time with the family than I had last Ramadan. I think this Ramadan I have my readings, I'm preparing, of course reciting Quran, following the meaning and revising more at a particular time and trying to finish the Quran during the month. The Ramadan traditions we have is we try and make sure most of the suhoor has been prepared before we go to bed, so it's just to warm things up, microwave them. We wake up, do some nawafil while getting the food ready. So if somebody's in the kitchen, somebody's doing wudu. After suhoor, more nawafil before subuh. After subuh, recite Quran, and then go to sleep. How do we break the fast? Usually we would start with something sweet, water, as always dates, and fruit. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It's one that one tries to do, but in all honesty, it has been difficult to keep that tradition. What one does try to do is make sure one gives the reading, the studying enough time. There are many surahs that touch one more deeply than others, but usually also some surahs become more important depending on your situation. Surah Al-Asr, I find a very good summary of what Islam is all about. Yes, I've attended the i'tikaf. I was a couple of years, maybe 6 years ago. Unfortunately, most of the work I have been working on has been very critical, and it's been difficult to leave it completely for i'tikaf. But yes, it's a good experience to spend time just in the mosque. I think gradually appreciate the simplicity of life and how much you really don't need in everyday life. It doesn't help when there's no stable electricity, or where there's a serious mosquito problem in the mosque, or where the mosque doesn't have the kind of toilet facilities, or where you have a mosque full of people who always want to spend time either asking questions or sharing their difficulties, when you kind of try to seek solitude in itikaf. Like there's time for da'wah, there's time for sadaqah, but it's supposed to be a time when you're alone with your creator. So it has become difficult where I live. One simple thing is just to take time off to travel and go elsewhere. I think my most memorable Ramadan was when my children started to make presentations. And we teach anybody who is going to make presentations in the family after the taraweeh prayer. Definitely I remember the last Ramadan very vividly, where one of my sons, who has been generally very quiet, came with a verse of the Quran he had memorized, a hadith he presented, a nice story to go with it. And it was sweet to see him preparing, but also even more gratifying to see him make a very wonderful presentation. So yeah, those little things I think make some Ramadans very memorable in some ways. I do many things. Most of my time is as a director for research and training at the Dawah Institute of Nigeria, which is the department that handles Islamic outreach, department of the Islamic Education Trust. How to balance work and Ramadan? I think it's just to plan ahead of time. You know what's coming. You know how tired you will be at certain times of the day, so you prepare to rest early. Fortunately, where I work, they give us more flexible working hours during Ramadan. And certain things you decide you're not going to do. So I usually minimize da'wah activities in Ramadan. I try not to give lectures or be involved in most work that involves speaking to the public. There are times when it is a bit unavoidable, or it's just very important that I attend one or give a particular talk, so I'll do some of that. But as much as possible, it's to minimize going out or traveling and spending more time with myself, my creator, and the family. In the last 10 days of Ramadan, I think the feeling is that of a friend about to leave, an opportunity that's about to end. Ramadan itself is an important opportunity. The last 10 days is even a greater opportunity. And so if you were distracted during the first third and half, or 2/3 of Ramadan, the last 10 days, that's the period to really have the discipline to cut back on work, to cut back on reading anything other than Quran, to cut back on travel. That's when you really try to take advantage of and make the best use of Ramadan. So it really feels like a very close companion, a big blessing that's about to leave, and one wants to make the best out of it. It usually means you don't sleep as much as you would, but it's also the time when you're more tired because you've been fasting for over 20 days as you move towards those last 10 days. So I think that's part of the spiritual exercise that Allah expects of us, and we do the best we can with the time available. Between last Ramadan and this Ramadan, Ramadan boosts your energy to let you know how many nafilas you can do very easily. And even though it's still nafila in Ramadan, the amount of reward is one that makes you feel, okay, even if I can't do 10 or 12 or more rakahs every day outside Ramadan, at least I'll be able to do more. So it is, of course, painful that as Ramadan goes by, You're able to do more nawafil before prayers and after some of the prayers. And as you move into the months, they start to reduce. And so I think there's that cycle of up and down. When Ramadan comes, it's to try and continue as much as possible. So again, it's one where we will recharge our spiritual batteries and try and do as much as we can. And by trying to put things into routines, they're able to last longer. They may not last a whole year, but you try to make them last longer. So I think that cycle will continue, but one hopes that the time after Ramadan, you would be able to carry on with things more longer than previous years, inshallah. What makes Eid celebration special? I think firstly, an opportunity which, if you have forgotten to do it during Ramadan, is an opportunity to make others happy. The zakatul fitr or sadaqatul fitr, you try to do more than just giving the minimum that's required. You try to make sure you have gifts for neighbors, for poor people. Just as during Ramadan, you try to make sure when you cook food, you've done enough both for suhoor and iftar, for security people, for those who work in and around the neighborhood. I think Eid is an opportunity to really celebrate, be happy, and time for presents. The kids are always happy to see what you got them, neighbors, family members. So it's a time of fun. We usually have the younger generation doing dramas, coming up with plays. We usually meet after Maghrib, the family, the whole extended family. And it's good to see some of what we would call our dad's grandchildren, that's our children, coming up with new dramas, plays, jokes, riddles. It's a time of fun, a time of laughter, and usually my sister is the big cook for that, and we get a lot of surprises in the kind of nice foods we get to eat. So it's a happy moment for all.